All right, we're going to kick this off.
Let's do it.
Yes, welcome everybody. Thrilled to have you all here for our focus forum, and I am very grateful to have this space from one group. Today we have three local experts who will explore how Central New York is building and reshaping its workforce system and what it means for residents, employers, and the broader civic community. Today we have in the middle here Amy Durfee, Vice President of Workforce Innovation for Center State Civic Corporation for Economic Opportunity. I think I've got that right. Michael Frame, Executive Director of the Manufacturers Talent Institute and Executive Vice President of MACLE, the Manufacturers Association. And Tyler Worrell, the Program Director of Erie 21 at Moyne College, a program that focuses on equipping underserved individuals with the education, skill development, and support needed to thrive in tech careers and beyond. With much more information about them and their resumes on our website, so please feel free to check that out as well. Now, we're going to start today with Amy. Amy, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Should I stay here?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with two of our close partners and also many of our partners in the room. I work at Center State CEO, which is a regional economic development organization, and I lead our workforce development. So we have a team of 6 amazing humans who I'm constantly just trying to keep up with. And what we do is we're looking at the workforce system here in Central New York, trying to match, okay, where are the jobs coming and how do we make those jobs available to as many people as possible, specifically focusing on women, people of color, and people who are un and under. So obviously we're going to talk a lot about Micron today. We are in the eye of the storm, as these two also are, in terms of getting this region ready for Micron. But I just want to say a little bit about what we do. So some examples of industries: we work in construction, we work in manufacturing, and we work in tech. And what we've done over the past, I think it's been about 10 or 12 years, this work has been happening at Center State CEO, well before my time, is identifying gaps and then filling those gaps, standing up programs, and then those programs go on their way. So one of those is Syracuse Build. I don't know if folks have heard about Syracuse Build's construction initiative we started here in Syracuse, focused on getting more Syracuse residents into construction jobs. We started a program that did not exist here, which is called Pathways to Apprenticeship, focused on getting people into unions. That program is focused on getting people into all the different trade unions, including those that are working on Interstate 81, those that are working on Micron. The program is primarily people of color and women, and it is in cohort 11 right now. Also want to recognize Syracuse City School District, and put that over here in the corner, for launching the first Pathways Youth cohort. We're going on the second one now, right?
We just finished the second one, not the third one.
So I also want to say the key to our work is partnership. We do not run programs ourselves. We identify gaps and then go, how can we, who's ready to do this? Another one I want to call out is a program called Vehicles to Work, and I see John here in the corner from Westcott Community Center. As many people know, one of the biggest barriers to getting into employment is having access to transportation. As we got deeper into training people for construction, we were like, we're not going to train people for construction and then say, hope you find a car, good luck with that. You have to have a car in order to work in construction in this area. So we actually ran a small vehicle program prior to 2020. COVID came along. We had some time to really dig into successful programs around the country. And the Westcott Community Center raised their hand and said, yep, we want to get good at this. We want to try to build this up. It's complicated to get people into a car. So we've launched that program, piloted, and now John is serving like 600 people around the entire region. Very successfully. It's big.
It's busy.
It keeps growing.
Yeah.
So we also got on-ramp going. That was a project to say, okay, we need a large capacity, kind of more flexible job training organization here. Right, so that is building. We also started a program called Bridge to Manufacturing, which is about getting people into a highly complex field, getting their math skills up, getting sort of understanding what is a semiconductor, like what even is it. We also started to pilot something around professional skill. We have a lot of companies saying to us, gosh, you really need people. We can teach them technical skills. We really need people who can problem solve, critical thinking skills, communications. So we started to talk to our training providers and going, what are you guys doing with this? And I'm like, no, we could be doing this better. We could be doing this in a more structured way. So we're piloting, actually with both of you guys, a credential that will help people learn those skills and really figure out how to pull those talents out of people, talents that they already may have that they may be fearful to present in a workplace, or talents that they didn't know they are using in one area of their life that they could be using in another area of their life. So that's kind of an overview of the kinds of things that we do. So I think that what I want to focus on a little bit is related to Micron. We have been in the eye of the storm in getting the workforce ready here. The primary occupations that we and all of our partners are focused on are the construction jobs and the technician jobs. So the construction jobs, we are using our infrastructure of Syracuse Build, which some of you may know was a mayoral initiative that started several years ago, has continued and expanded and grown to identify people who live in Syracuse who may have existing construction skills that could go with the project. The project has a project labor agreement, so it is going to be primarily union work. That is good because unions provide stability, advancement, good wages. We have very strong relationships with all the building trades. And what we're doing is we're working closely with the contractors and the unions to monitor where are those gaps going to be? Where are we going to need people in 6 to 12 months? And then working with all the training providers throughout the region to go, okay, guys, we're going to need, a bunch more operating engineers in 6 months. All right, everybody who's doing heavy equipment and CDL, these are the kinds of things you need to be trained in. So we're trying to, the students who are sort of functioning at the system level. We are working through a consortium that we started with Micron and Syracuse University a couple of years ago, which is called the Future Ready Workforce Innovation Consortium. The name is so bad it's good. And so that consortium has, let's see, I wrote down the number of those. It's got about 80 to 90 organizations in it, about 250 individuals. We've been adding organizations to it. This is something, if you are representing a workforce development or educational organization, if you want to get connected to what's going on, please let me know. So that's one place we're focusing is on construction. The other thing I really want to make sure to mention is what we are doing here in Syracuse to identify people who are interested in getting into construction is we are holding information sessions in different parts of the city. And so every Tuesday at 12:30 at CMY Work, which is 960 James Street, there is an information session about what it means to work in construction. What are the careers? What are the opportunities? Now we know Tuesday at 12:30, not a great time for everybody. So we're expanding the number of sites that we're doing information sessions with, the times of day. Westcott, Center for Community Alternatives, Mary Nelson, Dunbar. If this is something that you're in an organization and would like to have Syracuse Build come to do an information session in your organization, please let me know or let Joe know. So that I'm going to just wrap up, because then I'm probably getting my time, is around the manufacturing jobs, the technician jobs in my heart. And I'm not gonna steal your thunder, I promise you, because he's actually in charge of the section of these job opportunities that is the most exciting, which is registered apprenticeship, because it is the door that does not require a huge amount of training to go through. We will need people who are going through training as well to fill all these technician positions. The Onondaga Community College has been leading the pack and working very closely with Micron to develop curriculum. I don't know if you guys have been over there. They have this amazing clean room simulation lab up on the second floor of their Whitney building. So they have built out incredible array of programs that are foundational for people to get into technician roles. In addition, other community colleges in the region are also building this. So now what we're doing is trying to understand, all right, where are all of these programs? How do we make sure that people know about them, that they know how to get into them, and that those programs are accessible to people in the general public who want to be able to, I want to work at Micron. Okay, where do I start? So those are the types of programs that we're building out to be able to get people access to information. There's so many different organizations and players, and so it's taking a while to kind of get everything organized. But we're making some progress. I think we're getting there. And I think that's where we'll stop.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you very much.
Now, he's already introduced you, so
Tell us about acne and MTI.
Great. So thank you guys so much for the opportunity to be here today. I'm Mike Frame, Executive Vice President of MACNY Manufacturers Association. If you're not familiar with MACNY, we're an industrial trade association of about 345 members across 26 counties in upstate New York, but the vast majority are in central New York in the Mohawk Valley. We've been around for 113 years. We still have one member who is an original member. Anybody want to make a guess? Not you, Bill. Anybody else want to make a guess as to who is still a MACNY member who was there at the 113 years ago?
Cathedral Camp.
Close. It was actually Stick.
Oh,
So MACNY has obviously seen quite a bit in the manufacturing space over its 113 years. And I think if anyone grew up here or has been here for a while, we obviously are at the cusp of a resurgence in manufacturing, and really the reshoring of manufacturing that we had previously thought had gone abroad over the past few decades. Personally, I felt that experience firsthand. I grew up right off of Thompson Road in East Syracuse in housing that was built for carrier employees. Right down the road was New Venture here, right? And so I had a lot of friends whose parents worked at New Venture here. My grandfather worked here. And on the other side of us, right on that little stretch, anytime that you may have visited James Street, Wegmans in the summer, you'd smell the penicillin trucking. And so that was there. So just in that little corridor, I mentioned 3 companies that are unfortunately not manufacturing at that extent. But you've already seen now what's happening on the former Bristol Myers Squibb site with Lotte and that opportunity in biologics, right, manufacturing. Amy touched on this huge opportunity in space in semiconductor and supply chain. And we are seeing many of our members with a tremendous amount of growth. And so MACNY, much like CEO as well as our educational partners, we're asked by our members to say, we have a huge shortage of talent. What can you do to help us? And so our strategy at MACNY is really threefold. First, on the one side is career exploration, career coaching. You're here, our Partners for Education and Business works with over 15 school districts throughout the school year on career exploration, career coaching, not just for manufacturing, but also information technology and healthcare. If you're not exposed to those opportunities, how would you ever know that you want to have a job or really a career in. So that's on one end of the spectrum. On the other hand, and Amy gave you a little bit of a preview for it, for about a decade, MACNY has been a group sponsor for registered apprenticeship. What is registered apprenticeship? Basically, it's an earn and learn model for upskilling talent. So you're able to work full-time while you're taking college courses and getting on-the-job training. And over the course of anywhere between 16 months, 48 months, you're getting a nationally recognized credential. It's very good, has previously been very common, obviously, in the building and construction trades. It's where most people know of the apprenticeship model, but it's existed now for some time and continues to grow in the manufacturing space as well. So since we started that program with 5 companies with 1 apprentice each about a decade ago, we've now had well over 1,000 apprentices statewide go through us or our partner programs and have nearly 200 signatories who are a part of that. Many of the advanced manufacturers that you're hearing about and reading about in the newspaper are utilizing those earn and learn models as a part of their strategy. We can go further into detail in the Q&A portion of that. But this is an incredibly valuable and successful model. Previously it might be say alternate pathway beyond high school. Really what we're talking about now is a parallel pathway. At the end of the registered apprenticeship, apprentices can earn college credits and potentially degrees as part of that process, and we're seeing that now. So that's incredibly exciting. So we talked about career exploration. We talked about really an incumbent training worker model with registered apprenticeship. There's a whole vast host of individuals who, if we didn't get to you in high school and you don't know about the opportunity with the manufacturer, how could we possibly reach you? And so we developed a pre-apprenticeship program with New York State Department of Labor and Empire State Development. And our first program that we developed was called Real Life Roses. Women make up about over 50% of the US population, but make up less than 20% of the manufacturing workforce. So we knew there was a huge opportunity to be able to provide technical training, power skills training, and a career exploration in a much more condensed and focused format. And so that Real Life Rosies program kicked off with a cohort in Mohawk Valley about 2.5 years ago. And since that time, we've now have had well over 400 participants, and we've expanded to Syracuse, Fulton, Auburn, Binghamton, Rochester, Albany. We're launching one with Tompkins Portland Community College right now, and we'll be in Buffalo this fall. So we'll continue to use that model as a bridge program, like some of the programs Amy was talking about, with the goal of either having an individual be able to start at a manufacturing company that has a registered apprenticeship program, or if they're an incumbent worker, to be able to then enter directly into that registered apprenticeship. So that's one model that we deploy. The other, our second direct entry pre-apprenticeship program is called the Virtual Apprenticeship. That covers a lot of other individuals, but actually also has a very specific component using elements of universal design established at the University of Rochester for individuals who may be neurodiverse to be able to explore pathways in manufacturing as well. So that second program is also a part of that number that I reflect. But I want to leave with sort of the opportunity and the challenge space that we have before us. Amy and I were just discussing, we just both got back from Boise and saw firsthand the massive size and scope of this one mega project that we know is coming to our community. The New York State Department of Labor's study from about 2 years ago said that we were going to have about a deficit of 81,000 to 100,000, depending on where you saw it, open and unfilled manufacturing jobs if we don't create by the year 2030. We don't address it. Somewhere between 81,000, this is across New York State. That doesn't include Micron, because it got that, the Micron impact doesn't hit at that time. It doesn't include the planned investment in Chobani, that it was nearly 40 minutes away from here, and that opportunity. And there's a whole bunch of other opportunities that we know are coming that it doesn't address as well. So that 81,000 can rapidly become 100,000 or more. And so that's why all of these organizations are here working together to be able to address that. So really looking forward to getting into the conversation. Thank you again for the opportunity to do that.
Thank you, Mike. A minute to connect the real-time Rosies with the Rosie the Riveter. I assume that's the model.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Tyler, you come from the academic side of things. I would love to hear what's happening with Erie 21.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Tyler Worrell. I am the program director at Erie 21 and also our Healthcare Advancement Resource Center, also known as HARP at Moyne College. It's a pleasure to be here in the space with each of you. Something that I think is important to start with is to acknowledge that we are in an unprecedented time. We are experiencing an economy that is shifting faster than our systems may be able to keep up with. And so with that, when we think about civic engagement, you can talk about 2-year, 4-year terms, or in terms of institution, which typically has a 10-year turnover with leadership. I'm very excited to be representing Moyne College and Jesuit values, which really reflect caring for the whole person, making sure that we're doing good in a moment like this in communities. Thankful for the support of our president, Dr. Linda Lemire, who is leading the charge in visionary leadership that helps push us in breaking some traditional higher education boundaries that drive economic mobility in Central New York. So at Area 21, where we are educating the rising innovation economy of the 21st century, we service multi-generational underserved individuals all the way from middle school age up and through high school, college, and adulthood. And the ways in which we do that is we give hands-on STEAM experience and real-world application. So with our middle school and high school, what that looks like in practice, we actually just wrapped up our summer camps, which were really exciting. Our quantitative thinking village for our middle school students and our innovation academy for our high school students. And we give them exposure into like robotics, coding, and any other types of career exploration. We try to keep our ear to what industry is telling us and use that to inform our programs, but also infusing some wraparound cares and services to offer that holistic approach, again, caring for the whole person. And in our college program, what we do is we focus on the technical skills in that area, offering holistic support. But we also, how Moyne is helping in this area, is we directly want to prevent the brain drain, meaning people come into Syracuse, they're getting their education here, and then they leave. Through our college program graduates, when they get job opportunities, about 90% of those graduates actually get jobs here and stay here in Central New York, which is huge, being able to retain our local talent, especially in the regional tech economy. And then for our adult program, it is an open access, no tuition, the tuition-free certification that we offer to our community. And so we do that through our Google IT certification. We're currently doing a CompTIA A+ certification on campus throughout the summer. And what it looks like moving forward is starting this fall, we're going to be introducing some tech talks into the community that will evolve into the new year, really focusing on artificial intelligence, AI. And so I'm excited to tell you more about opportunities and how you may get connected into that. In regards to HARC, our Healthcare Advancement Resource Center, where we help internationally medically trained graduates who, in other places are already medical professionals, we help them to navigate healthcare pathway systems and in licensure infrastructure to be able to help out in our healthcare system. I don't know how much you guys are aware of the pathways and the systems into healthcare here, but it's a very cumbersome system. It's not very easy to navigate. And so you need some intentionality in helping people to not only get their credentialing, but offer things like medical English, helping people to get stipend and living support, and having the foreign transcript evaluations. So we help our participants to navigate those pathways and connect with industry partners, hospitals, as well as other resources on campus to support our students to get connected there, which is really important because we're going to be seeing a vast healthcare shortage in the coming years. And we have people that are ready now to be able to fill those gaps. So if we talk, as we talk about civic engagement and what that looks like, how could people get involved? Perhaps it looks like looking at the systems we have currently in place to help catalyze and optimize off of the talent that we currently have here. What innovation looks like internally is encouraging our traditional liberal arts to rethink how higher ed models could look. What it could be like, how could we support the trades in helping with these short-term credentials, let them be stackable and have give our participants credit for prior learning so that they can segue into degree pathways. Because although you may not need in your entry-level career these degrees, right? You may just need some of these foundational skills, and we can teach our technical skills later. But when you get in any place, you want to think about, what does upward mobility look like? How do I become a leader in this space, right? And so being able to provide mentorship and coaching, and then coupling it with the credits for prior learning to be able to catalyze your experience and give you that differentiator when they're trying to think about, should they choose me as a person with a master's degree, but I've just been working and doing pre-apprenticeships and internships. You know, I don't have a degree, but I was spending time doing that. How could we as an institution help to give you that credit that employers will recognize? Those are things that we're doing to explore innovation internally. My counterparts already kind of talked about overcoming some of the participant barriers, which are very true. When we think about history over past few generations, way longer than I, or maybe probably many of you have even been here. When we think about the root cause, I think it comes from, you brought up the carrier cycle, right? And that experience, family sustaining wages were a thing back then, right? But what was also a thing was that community piece, being able to have people close to business where they can get to their jobs, being able to afford your food and things of that nature. And when we experience shifts and displacement locally and let that kind of sit over time for years, people lost that sense of community, what it is to be a good neighbor. These are all things that are necessary in order to have stability. So what our programs are doing is providing people with the stability they'll need through internship, through job placement, through just being able to connect with any of our career advisors on campus and giving them the support that they will need to be able to unlock what truly is their civic responsibility, which is to engage and be able to have the brain capacity to advocate for the additional things that they'll need to improve their quality of life. So we do that through our one-to-one career navigation. We do that through trying to, where we can, address transportation barriers, or we have a model where we're doing a community-based approach where we try to find the community hubs, both locally within the city and regionally in rural areas, to find and identify what are those community hubs and can we bring our programs there to kind of decrease those barriers. We offer emergency supports and funding. We are aligned as partners locally, and I would think that next step is to think about how do we get aligned on a state level, before we go to like a federal level. So what could that look like? Are things that we ask one another. And so for Moyne Area 21, what that looks like as far as alignment on a state level is we've aligned with the governor's initiative for AI. So our governor has appointed Pursuit as a lead in the AI space based in New York City. Out of that, there are only 3 locations that were chosen to do this initiative and pilot. Buffalo was one, New York City was the other, and Syracuse was the last. And I'm very proud to be able to represent and lead in that space. Area 21 is the partner that Pursuit and Center State have chosen to partner with when it comes to the artificial intelligence roles there. So we will be starting to have a little bit of a preview or a glimpse into what AI impacts could be and look like for the IT space and cybersecurity. Our first conversation will be September 10th, open to the community, and we'll make sure to send out the information to you all. That'll be from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. We like to infuse a little bit of networking as well, so you can talk to industry professionals as well, not just us. And it'll be a really great time to answer preliminary questions, curiosities about what AI is, how it's going to impact the workforce, and how can you see yourself in that future. So that's what we do on a state level there. We also, through CART, are entwined nationally with partners to always look at the trends to see how workforce development is being impacted for our foreign medically trained participants, and we try to stay ahead of those trends on a federal and state levels to be able to right fit our programs to better support. I obviously can say a lot, and I do say a lot. I think if I had to just kind of put a pin on things, we do some really high impact initiatives. What I think we need to start focusing on is how do we have that continuity, not just from like a season, a one-off, a pop-up, but what does it really look like to give that year-round support? What is the employer's role in having that sustainability conversation? What is the training provider's role? And also, what is the employees, the future employees? What are our roles? We each have a role to play. And in an unprecedented time like this, where we already started off kind of a little bit behind the curve, and then the pandemic probably didn't do us too many favors. But we need to start talking about that and thinking about that. And then when we have a question and we're wondering what are other entities doing, the question I think we need to start also asking is, in this space, if I'm seeing a gap, what can I do? How can I position myself to be able to be a part of this collaboration? What can I contribute to see more impactful change? And then I think that's how we'll be able to ride this wave together. So I'm looking forward to the continued dialogue and conversation. But overall, civic workforce development is civic infrastructure. And in a time like this, we need connection, we need hope, we need love, we need people to remember that we are neighbors at the end of the day. We need to reflect on what do we currently have that we can contribute. And instead of maybe thinking forward and saying, well, what opportunities maybe financially are there for me? Or how can I personally get myself ahead? Think of what is the real problem that we're trying to solve for, and then who do I know, who can I connect with to start solving for some of these problems. And I think through those creative and collaborative conversations, we can be critical thinkers, and we can solve a lot of the workforce development, infrastructure issues, and civic engagement issues that we're looking to solve for. So thank you, pleasure to be in the space.
Well, that's so much going on. It's really hard. I don't know how you keep track of it all.
Anyway, we're into the Q&A portion of our forum today. Brian Hoke, Board Emeritus from Focus, is going to lead us in the questions that we received prior to this time, and perhaps we will also be able to respond to a few questions from the other. So we'll see how it goes. But thank you.
Right
Thank
here
you.
on.
Thanks, everybody, for your panelists, for your comments. Thanks, everybody, for being here. I've done this maybe 10 times a year since COVID, right? Is that about right? So maybe 50, 60 of these. And I dare say there ain't one of these when I've not asked this question, because it's focus, right? And that question is, how does the average audience member, people who showed up here, right? I mean, the dozens of people here, I'm sure there are thousands, millions maybe online with us via Zoom. Some people, Riley, you piggybacking on how you ended your remarks, what does the average interested, talented person who cares about this, but maybe it's not their job, what do people do? How can people help? How can they feel good about pushing the ball forward for the issues, the challenges that you all raised? What can we as informed, engaged citizens do to help this, to help our fellow community members?
That's a great question. I'll take a stab at it first. I think what we can do first is you can get involved in programs like what Area 21 is offering. I think that's the first step, because not only do we talk about the technical piece, we really focus on that humanity side. And what we're finding with the workforce trends, I think, are showing us is, although workforce is shifting maybe to a place that seems or feels unfamiliar or perhaps even a little scary for folks, we know that you're still going to need humans at the end of the day. You're still going to need people who can make good judgment calls, who can communicate effectively, who can solve problems. And so those are things you have to exercise. So by getting involved in things that are interesting for you to get involved in, and then by having those conversations, when you're involved in a program like Area 21, for instance, or maybe even like MACNY, which I'm sure you can go in depth on, you're also getting that curated experience, that holistic support that I mentioned for the wraparound services. And by theory, what that will allow you to do is, if you're receiving a stipend, if you're receiving emergency support in some way, or you just have a person to kind of like bounce ideas off or think through problems with, it'll allow you to have the increased brain capacity to actually sit back and reflect on what's going on in my life currently that does not work for me, right? Like, is there a crack on my sidewalk? Or am I struggling because I do use the bus and it does not come frequently enough for me to travel? When you can think about these issues, then you can start to ask these questions to the right people and get informed. So then the next step I would encourage anyone to do is, you're all constituents. So educate yourself on what municipality infrastructure is on a local level, on a state level, on a federal level. This year is a congressional election year. What does that mean for you? What does Congress do for you? You don't know the answers to those questions. Start to dig a little bit deeper. And then you'll be able to advocate appropriately for what you need. You'll be able to do a little reverse engineering to find out who locally could support you, somebody who I think should be a part, or one entity I think should be a part of this conversation to better answer that question. I would say would be our community action agency, Peace Incorporated, who could better help anybody to better navigate any questions. So you don't have to have it all figured out right now, but if you just have the question and the desire, that would be my recommendation, is to seek out the community resources that are currently available, like a Peace Incorporated, like a Weststock Community Center, like an Area 21. And then they'll help you to navigate from there, because we all are communicating and we all are connected to one another.
Bella, thank you. Amy or Mike, you all want to come in on this?
But so just do it, we'll tie it up. Another place, if you work in an organization or a company, often professional development, upskilling is neglected. And maybe there's programs for people at the higher kind of management level, but that's an area where everybody who is working inside an organization can be effective to advocate for professional development inside your company, to advocate for upskilling inside your company, because we are talking a lot about getting people in the front door of a new occupation. But keeping people in those jobs is a long game, and people advancing in them. and developing those skills. I mean, we're talking about, we need skills at all levels. And so staying in a job, being able to advance, able to make more money, that requires somebody at that job mentoring you or having a way to keep learning in a structured way. Obviously, registered apprenticeship is one way to do that, but people learn in all different environments in all different ways. Does your company have tuition reimbursement for people to go to school while they're working? Does your company have a structured professional development system or process? How do people get their profession? So that's the other arena that anybody, I think, who's working in a company, or retired from a company, can advocate to improve workforce development. I will say it's a team sport. It needs all of us. We're all touching this field in different ways. So that's what I would say.
Thank you for your remarks. Mike, thoughts?
The only, well, I was gonna say, Brian, to that point, I think the first step you've already done, which is to come and listen and take the time out of your day to just hear about what we're doing in workforce development, and then being able to take that and share that with your neighbors, with your family. The idea that the three of us would be able to sort of have, to be able to share that message in and of itself, in the field that I spend most of my time on in manufacturing, right? The vast perception is still that manufacturing is the 3 Ds: dark, dirty, and dangerous. Most of our advanced manufacturing was anything but that. And so while we are trying as best we can to be able to share that, especially with youth or with individuals who are unemployed or underemployed or looking for a shift in what they're in their career path right now, we need everyone here to be able to share that there are these opportunities available, and to be able to allow individuals to explore in those spaces. And a question that Brian's going to ask, and I'm going to jump on it, is before you even get the chance to ask it, is what are some of the things that are missing? And so one of the places where that is, for example, is that the work that Amy's doing with building and construction trades and those opportunities, and the work that I'm doing, and she's doing as well in the manufacturing space, is there isn't necessarily an opportunity to be able to, if an individual goes part of the way through the training process and then says, you know what, I'm not interested in the sort of having to be at a new work site every week. And so that's not something that's attractive to me. I don't know what my career path might be. Or an individual says, I like working with my hands, but I don't want to do the same task maybe each day as a part of it. How do we build that connection and that crosswalk between each other? And it's the understanding all of these opportunities for individuals who are interested in working with their hands, in being able to solve problems, right? And being able to be on the cutting edge of technology. All of it doesn't matter, right? Both building and construction and manufacturing and information technology, all of these, those skills are still the same and needed across whether or not what you then choose for your particular career. And so we have to be able to be open and be able to share what those opportunities are. And I hope that you'll help to amplify that.
Cool. Thanks, Mike. We got a question, and we'll get to some questions from the audience and hopefully even from the from those out there. But Samia, forgive me if I'm mispronouncing your name, asked about barriers that cause participants to drop out. I'd like to expand that. I have no doubt, 99% sure, I'd probably bet the farm on it, that numbers, statistics are a big part of metrics, right? Or a big part of what do the numbers look like, in addition to, people dropping out. But I'm a stats guy, I like sports, I like numbers in sports. Is it the people that enter this pipeline, whether it's something you convene or something you do yourselves, how many go through and what are the challenges too? I mean, obviously the need, right? Like you said, 100,000, right? This isn't, this isn't paltry, this is important. And on the other hand, can help our community in lots of ways. But what do the numbers look like? And what are the challenges to keep people engaged in these incredible opportunities that you all provide or help to provide?
So we also, as a part of our pre-apprenticeship program, have wraparound services, including child care, transportation, and work resources as a part of our pre-apprenticeship program. And when we started the project, I thought that for our Real Life Rosies program, that the largest utilization of those supportive services would be in childcare field, knowing that there's significant demand for it, and it is incredibly important. But the number one resource that's needed to help for supportive services is transportation. The very way in which our community, and most communities are built now, is that the population centers and the major industrial centers are in completely opposite ends of the physical location. That's no different from the mega project that's happening, but the vast majority of faculty members are not located in the city of Syracuse, even though the vast majority of our population is located within that and the inner ring suburbs of that particular piece. So transportation is a huge challenge, and when you're talking about underserved populations, you see similarly that our rural communities and our urban communities are both lack some of the infrastructure necessary to be able to do that. And so that has been a huge barrier to that. So when you talk about success, there's two things. One, participation in the training programs. And then with employment, transportation is a massive piece that we'll all have to come together as a community to be able to resolve that.
For us, our numbers look pretty good. We have a 100% high school graduation rate.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
A 100% high school graduation rate. We also, I think I told you a little bit earlier, about 90% of our college program graduates end up getting jobs and staying locally in central New York. But about 96 actually get job or post-grad opportunities after being with us. And we've serviced over 400 youth, and this is in the Erie 21 space to provide programming. And I think the key to our success, because to your point, it's yes, transportation we observe as a barrier, childcare as a barrier, food, health, the social determinants of health. Nothing that I think is anything surprising, hopefully, to our community. But our model, our community-based model, I think is what helps us to see success. The fact that we don't expect people to just come to us, but we decided to do this campus to community connection bridge work, again, identifying the community hubs. So for the city of Syracuse, identifying that we needed to go to the libraries. So we partnered with Onondaga County Public Libraries to bring our services there. As we are talking about rural areas and so let's say Solvay or OCS Lafayette, we're bringing it to the schools. As far as Solvay, they've identified what their hub is, so we're going to go and bring it there. So that's how we try to listen to the data, listen to our students, listen to what industry employers are telling us, and then try to creatively come up with programmatic solutions to kind of combat those areas. When it comes to HEART, in our Healthcare Advancement Resource Center, our participants experience all of the same challenges, I would say, and a little bit more just given the current climate. And so something we did lifetime at around November 2025 is we launched an initiative called Season of Hope. And this was during a time, I don't know if you recall, but SNAP benefits were being jeopardized, people's food and childcare had been cut at the time. So we decided to provide scholarship and stipends, engagement awards to our participants that could support in any of these areas. We were able to support over 50 of our participants. We were able to give out over $185,000 worth of engagement support. And we were able to serve over 120 of our participants in part who are continuing their education because of this support and are on the right path to healthcare pathways. And so, yes, all the things that my partner here just spoke of, but what we do as training provider is not just talk about what the issues are, just read it. We try to use that data to inform how we're going to navigate programming, not just for programming sake. Okay.
Thank you. Amy, you want to come in?
I just,
Please.
no notes, but I would say, a couple of other things come to mind. In the construction world, construction is a very, very demanding job. You have to be there very early in the morning. How much childcare is available at 4 or 5 a.m.? Right? You have to have a whole structure around you so that you can go do that, right? You have to, if you're an apprentice, you're getting there early in the morning, you're working a long day, and then you're going to class at night, multiple nights a week, potentially depending on the trade. Get home late at night, you gotta get up and do that all over again. So I think there's a part of this process where people just realize that's not for them. That's one of the reasons that we started doing pre-apprenticeship programs. That's the purpose of pre-apprenticeship programs in multiple sectors.
Test it out for
So,
yourself.
yeah, so like in the package program, people go, they come in, they learn about construction, and then they go visit all the apprenticeship programs. They go and do, they're bending rebar and they're, welding things. They're physically going to the place that they are going to have to go train at. So that's why vehicles work is part of the picture, because even just to be an apprenticeship, you have to have a car. The other thing that I think is a big barrier is that people have to keep working. It is a luxury to be able to go through training and change jobs. It's a huge life change. And so every program that we touch, we provide a stipend or a wage while people are on training. And that helps to some degree, but it doesn't solve every other problem. But that's the other thing I think is that so many supports, as you mentioned, Tyler, have been taken away from people. Food, housing, healthcare, all of this, the rug has been just pulled out from under people, and they're just trying to keep going, right? And so to even think about a big shift is economic very challenging. Yeah, fill a gas tank, ground beef at $6 a pound. There's just a mental space that people have to be in to be able to make that shift, which I think right now is very.
Which is scary in and of itself, right? Even without the obstacles. All right, thank you. Alicia, and shout out to Alicia who makes all this happen,
Yes.
right?
So Julie's asking, critical thinking skills were mentioned at the beginning. What other soft skills and leadership skills have been identified as a need? What resources, vendors are you looking for to help you?
So within our pre-apprenticeship programs, it's about 72 hours total of pre-apprenticeship training. We focus almost half of that on what we refer to as power skills and were previously referred to as soft skills, and how, just to show how critically important that piece is. The ability to problem solve, workplace communication, those are still absolutely essential into that particular space. Right, we know that computer literacy is also incredibly important, even in these new manufacturing jobs. The ability to have a level of basic computer literacy, be able to use the programs is incredibly important. If an individual doesn't have those skills, we typically then refer them to EOC or community college partner to be able to provide those skills, or programs like Erie 21. But those are some of those absolutely incredible, the important skills, as well as then really infuse things like interview skills, resume writing, and other components of it to be able to help an individual get that first job and move them on the path. But the communications piece, conflict resolution, all is still incredibly important and something that can't be taught by by machine learning.
Yeah, I echo everything that you just said. I would say in addition to it, we're also seeing like the need for problem solving skills. And I almost struggle a little bit with the verbiage of soft skills because it kind of goes back to what I think Amy, you hit on it a little bit. We're doing a little research into this component, but it's basic human interaction skills that we are going to need, that we are finding has been lost. And it's a true human experience that we all need to kind of wake up to, in my opinion. And I'm excited that the Moyne and Erie 21 have been entrusted to be a part of the leadership in this charge of really trying to understand the holistic picture of what are all of those soft skills or human experience skills that people need, we need to unlock again in people. That why aren't people able to make judgment calls? Why are we presenting issues and people aren't naturally thinking to problem solve and come up with their own solution before resorting to a place of extreme stress and emotion, right? We need to understand what was that shift. And so what we are doing and with other partners, inclusive of MACME, is kind of pulling our training providers together while also still providing the job placement experiences to observe what our employers telling us they're observing that we may need to fine tune from the foundational skill set space, and also what our community residents telling us their struggles are in this new space. Here in Syracuse, more specifically, we're very saturated with nonprofit structures, right? But that's very different than a corporate structure. So what is that experience for that employee, and how can we help to sharpen those skills? How can we mentor and coach and upskill and get you prepared, not just for entry, but for leadership roles in this space? So I think to better answer that question, I would say we're also still uncovering what those things are. We're finding through research in other areas, nationally and internationally, what other data-driven tools and curriculums exist that we can help to sharpen our current residents and help to support them through this change.
One thing I would add is the skill of learning how to learn and the role of AI in people being able to learn on their own. Ask just enough questions where you can get a little bit further, but not too many questions. There's a balance there of asking for help, but also being able to figure out the answer on their own. And I think having AI skills is going to allow people to figure out so many more things on their own and trust that and trust their own judgment. It's complicated, but
Yeah, makes sense. I think we have time for one quick question and 2 quick responses. Anybody who came here? Yes, please.
A lot of you are alluding to the transportation issue. Yes. And certainly transportation is a major issue. The only solution that I've heard alluded to is getting people more vehicles. And certainly there are some fields, some workplaces that change and happen. What is being done in the Syracuse area to improve mass transit?
And I'll ask you to be brief. I know it's outside your directives, but obviously it touches on it, but please. Thoughts on that?
I do not have a great answer to that because I just don't. Centro has new leadership, which is fantastic. And I have watched presentations around changes that they're making. It feels like there is some movement and change, but I don't know exactly the details.
One can look at the recording of last month's session if you're interested in some of those answers from Mars, but sorry, I interrupted.
From our standpoint, we have discussions with employers and industry, and really trying to work through conversations on how do they begin to invest in work-based learning and support. So by investing in our programs and the things that we're doing, because we are providing these wraparound services and addressing things like transportation, the more an employer can invest in the programs that we are doing for this continuity that I spoke about and alluded to previously, the more we'll be able to support closing that gap in barriers such as transportation, but also in addition to the other barriers that we're seeing, in addition to our community-based model, by taking transportation completely out and going straight to the community we're looking to serve.
Mike, any last thoughts?
I was gonna sort of really echo that as the employers who are forward thinking and encouraging that are the ones who are being able to not exacerbate the situation by putting work-based learning and opportunities directly in their environments. Part of what, just to sort of close the trip that Amy and I just took to see Micron's facility in Boise, is that they have been having to transport, have their workers go almost 45 minutes across the region in order to be able to get their training at the local community college. They were able to build a new facility that's now less than a half a mile away, right on site to be able to do that. So that, and making sure that when we're providing these opportunities, that we're looking at spaces and places that are more proximate to where populations are, to be able to bridge that as well. So it's really has to be an all of the above approach. We do have to expand mass transit, at the same time, the vast majority of manufacturers are less than 100 people, which means that for 100 people, there is no mass transit solution that is going to be able to solve for that particular facility. So it has to be, how can we then create the broadest network with that all of the above approach to be able to sort of fill in the gaps where possible.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So
Johnson.
I just want to add one thing, and it's not mass transit, but a couple of times so far it's happened, and one thing that we're trying to encourage, it's not necessarily mass transit, we have nothing to do with that, but it's when someone gains a vehicle or gains access back to their vehicle or whatnot, is that they're ride sharing with people that they know. Because that can be something that really happens in places that are far off of the bus routes, and because there's not exceedingly great options for mass transit, at best, even when it gets better, there's not always going to be great options. But thinking more communally, and it speaks back to Heather's discussions of people thinking more communally, which we have completely lost. And so it's that kind of thing that we need to really encourage.
It's a great point. Thanks for bringing that up. And we'll stop there, sadly, but
So a big thank you to Mike. Appreciate it. Thank you to Brian for our Q&A, and thank you to One Group for us allowing us to use this beautiful space. As with all of our forums, this will be on our website. The video of this will be on our website. If not today, early next week. And so if you know of anybody who would appreciate learning some of this, please let them know. FocusSyracuse.com. We also always gratefully accept donations to keep Focus running. So if you know of any business that might want to sponsor reform, or if any individual would like to have some spare change, wants to leave it on the way out the door, we would be grateful for it. So have a wonderful day. Again, thank you.